This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump says it's up to his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, whether to release any more records of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm Julie Walker.
President Trump's former national security advisor being confirmed in his new role.
But there was no classified information shared.
I'm Clayton Neville.
The man accused of fatally shooting a prominent Minnesota state representative and her husband has been indicted. I'm Haya Panjwani.
A wildfire that destroyed a historic Grand Canyon lodge is continuing to spread out of control. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
On Wall Street, the NASDAQ opens at a new record high this morning, but inflation came in hot for June. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A member of TV's American Idol team and her husband murdered. Plus a swing-off in baseball's All-Star Game. First, all ahead on America in the Morning. The House GOP, for the second time on Tuesday, voted down a Democrat procedural maneuver aimed at forcing the Justice Department to release documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, calling it a partisan ploy. Correspondent Julie Walker reports on President Trump's support for his Attorney General over the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
President Trump says it's up to his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, whether to release any more records related to the sex trafficking investigation of Jeffrey Epstein.
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job.
Some of his supporters disagree and are calling for Bondi's ouster.
She said that Jeffrey Epstein's client list is, quote, sitting on my desk right now. Where is that client list? What is Attorney General Pam Bondi hiding? She needs to release the Epstein files as soon as possible. I talked about the Epstein files under the Biden administration. I'm talking about it under the Trump administration. This is a case of the powerful protecting the powerful. We need to have those files released.
Trump was asked by a reporter whether she told him if his name appears in any of the Epstein records.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing.
Bondi reportedly clashed with FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino over the issue.
But I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important. And you want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the Attorney General has handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release, yeah.
Trump also suggesting without evidence, Democrats made up the documents.
And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well.
Epstein, who was a one-time friend of Trump's before a falling out, killed himself in jail in New York awaiting trial. I'm Julie Walker.
On the other side of the U.S. Capitol, former National Security Advisor Mike Waltz was grilled by Senate lawmakers during a confirmation hearing for his next role in the Trump administration, which led to explosive testimony regarding the use of the Signal chat app. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
Mike Waltz was ousted from his position as National Security Advisor earlier this year and was instead nominated to serve as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. A focus of Waltz's confirmation hearing for that position this week was the Signalgate scandal. Trump administration officials, including Waltz, discussed sensitive details of a U.S. military strike in a chat on the app Signal earlier this year. Senators pressed Waltz, who defended his use of that app.
The use of Signal was not only authorized, it's still authorized and highly recommended.
Would you recommend the use of Signal for classified information to be shared between folks who have access to?
Again, we followed the recommendation, almost the demand, to use end-to-end encryption, but there was no classified information shared.
Senator Chris Coons.
You were sharing details about an upcoming airstrike and the time of launch and the potential targets. I mean, this was demonstrably sensitive information.
Waltz was asked about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza as war continues in the Middle East.
If Hamas would lay down their arms, if they would surrender, if they would stop sacrificing their own people, the fighting would stop today. And I am confident in working with Israel in that regard.
He also addressed global attitudes toward Israel during the hearing.
We must also challenge pervasive anti-Semitism. From 2015 to 2023, the General Assembly passed 154 resolutions against Israel versus 71 against all other nations combined.
Waltz is the administration's second nominee for the UN role. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's nomination was pulled over concerns about a slim GOP margin in the House. I'm Clayton Neville.
When we return on America in the Morning, prosecution moves forward in the case of the alleged killer of Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses. After these messages. Thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton is tracking several areas for the potential of severe weather.
3 separate zones will carry some risk for severe thunderstorms from later today into the nighttime hours. The area with the highest risk for storms producing a tornado will be from Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota southward toward Chicago and southwest into perhaps the north side of Kansas City, where storms may also deliver damaging winds of at least 55 to 65 miles per hour. Flooding will also be a concern in this general area through Thursday morning, as even the non-severe storms will bring numerous downpours for many from Nebraska into central Wisconsin. To the west of that area, the most potent storm should wait for the evening hours from northeastern Colorado eastward through much of the border of Kansas and Nebraska and northward through that north-south portion of the I-25 corridor in southeastern Wyoming. Any of these storms may produce hail and even stronger gusts of at least 60 to 70 miles per hour through tonight. Farther to the east, afternoon and evening storms will be able to wring out enough of the impressive moisture in place to produce flash flooding from southeastern Indiana and northern Kentucky toward the Wilmington, Delaware area and northwestern Pennsylvania, but these storms may also produce gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour. At least an afternoon thunderstorm can't be ruled out from lower Michigan to western New York either, and as far to the east as Connecticut, then southward for much of the east coast, including the Carolinas. South of there from Florida into southeastern Louisiana by day's end, a tropical rainstorm will emerge into the central Gulf, bringing several inches of rain and some wind. Otherwise, the Pacific Northwest stays hot west of the Cascades and away from the coast. In Pensacola, Florida, watch for showers and thunderstorms with tropical downpours today, the high 89. For Burlington, Vermont, today is looking sunny and hot with a high matching the record of 96 from 2018. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts when you search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. The man accused of killing a Minnesota lawmaker and shooting a state senator, as well as their spouses, has been indicted. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
Vance Bolter also seriously wounded a state senator and his wife on the same day in June while he was allegedly disguised as a police officer. The indictment lists murder, stalking, and firearms charges against Bolter. Acting U.S. Attorney Joseph Thompson.
This political assassination, the likes of which have never occurred here in the state of Minnesota, has shook our state at a foundational level.
The murder counts in the deaths of former Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark could carry the federal death penalty.
Now, this indictment includes a notice of special findings. These special findings are the first step towards seeking the death penalty against defendant Vance Bolter. The ultimate decision as to whether to seek the death penalty will not come for several months and will ultimately be decided by Attorney General Bondi, with input from the Capital Case Unit in the Department of Justice, along with this office and the victims.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
A new fire has exploded in size in Oregon. The Cram Fire has now consumed over 28,000 acres, sparking evacuations in 2 counties. Meanwhile, in the Southwest, Arizona's senators and Governor Katie Hobbs are demanding answers from the Trump administration over the federal response to 2 wildfires burning around the Grand Canyon. Lisa Dwyer reports.
A wildfire that destroyed a historic Grand Canyon lodge is continuing to spread out of control after being allowed to burn for days. Now the National Park Service's decision to not aggressively attack the fire right away is coming under scrutiny. Arizona's governor has questioned why the fire was allowed to burn during a hot and dry season. The fire leveled the historic Grand Canyon Lodge on the North Rim, along with over 70 structures, including cabins and a visitor center. Tucson Mayor Clorinda Vale says,
I don't want to point fingers. I'm just happy that nobody died, that there was no loss of human life.
Firefighters are dealing with a pair of wildfires near the park's North Rim. Neither blaze has any containment. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Consumers are paying more. The new read on inflation numbers when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. NVIDIA, Trump, inflation, and more in today's business report. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mixed day for stocks yesterday. Inflation keeps going up. It climbed again last month. Investors also a bit worried about earnings at some of the big banks. They reported results. We get more this morning. The Dow fell 400 points yesterday, but the Nasdaq opens today at a fresh record high, helped by shares of NVIDIA. They were up 4%.
I think what we're dealing with is a market that's up 26% over 65 trading days. And we're heading into a seasonal stretch that is not the best part of the calendar. Could we chop or consolidate here? I think that's totally reasonable.
Strategas Research's Chris Verone on CNBC. Inflation going in the wrong direction. Consumers are paying higher prices, and they did again in June. Inflation came in hot at 2.7%, its highest since February, and its biggest month-over-month gain since January.
If you're looking for signs that the tariffs are leading to higher consumer prices, you did see that. The tariffs are having an impact. Look at some of the areas where we're starting to see higher prices being paid for the consumer. They're places where we import a lot of the production. Men's shirts and sweaters saw a 4.3% increase over the month. Women's dresses saw an almost 4% increase. Appliances, toys. There's definitely evidence that the tariffs are having an impact in raising consumer prices.
CNBC's Sarah Eisen. The Fed's target inflation rate is 2%. And hotter inflation may give the Fed another reason to keep interest rates right where they are. They meet again at the end of the month. NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang met with President Trump. And now NVIDIA's getting set to export AI chips to China. Pennsylvania Republican Senator Dave McCormick says it's a fine line to walk.
We have to do two things at the same time. We have to maintain a leadership position in the most advanced chips. So it's a balancing act. The first generation most advanced chips have to be in the hands of the United States, but we're also going to have to recognize the world's moving. And if we can have U.S.-based companies, U.S.-friendly companies that are in the leadership role, they're going to be able to need to sell some of the lesser, most advanced to other countries.
Pennsylvania Republican Senator Dave McCormick on CNBC. Shark Tank Season 17 announced its guest sharks. Variety says they include Reddit founder Alexis Ohanian, Magnolia founders Chip and Joanna Gaines, and Poppy Soda founder Allison Ellsworth. On today's watch list, we get more earnings. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Johnson & Johnson, Morgan Stanley, PNC Financial, Prologis, United Airlines, and Alcoa. We also get the latest on inflation at the wholesale level with the PPI, Producer Price Index, for June. And today is National Hot Dog Day. Look for deals and discounts at different restaurants.
There's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, reason to celebrate for American League and National League fans of Major League Baseball after these messages. An arrest has been made in the deadly shooting of a longtime award-winning American Idol music supervisor and her husband in their multi-million-dollar Los Angeles area home. Police report that the victims, Robin Kay and her husband, Tom DeLuca, both age 70, were found shot to death after authorities went to the mansion to perform a wellness check. In less than 24 hours, police arrest a suspect, a 22-year-old identified as Raymond Bodarian, who authorities allege scaled a fence onto the property and shot both victims during what was described as a violent struggle. A motive for the slayings is not known. Kay had been with the TV show American Idol since 2009, according to details from the longtime series. In sports, Major League Baseball held its annual All-Star Game last night in Atlanta, and for the first time ever, it took a swing-off to decide the winner after the game ended in a 6-6 tie. In what was a mini home run derby to decide the winner, now there's concern for America's pastime between owners and players over a potential for a labor stoppage, along with participation in the upcoming Summer Olympics next year. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
Major League Baseball faces a potential lockout in December 2026. Players and management have long clashed over salary cap proposals, a format that union head Tony Clark criticizes as harmful to competition and player salary guarantees. Commissioner Rob Manfred argues the cap could address payroll disparities. Manfred and Clark say plans are moving ahead, exploring the possibility of using major leaguers in the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, a tournament that could be played on an extended All-Star break. I'm Gethin Coolball.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump visits Pennsylvania to tout billions in technological investments. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
An outcry over a call for redistricting in Texas. I'm Clayton Neville.
Torrential floods paralyzed New York and New Jersey, leaving 2 dead. I'm Sue Aller.
NVIDIA gets the green light to sell AI chips to China. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Unreleased music from Beyoncé was stolen during her tour. I'm Kevin Carr.
National Guard in Los Angeles head home. What prosecutors allege the Colorado dentist did. Definition of a beggar. And the winners and surprises of Emmy nominations are in. Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. More on those torrential rains in New York City yesterday coming up. First, today's forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Rain will be the main impact for the Gulf Coast states as a tropical rainstorm continues on its westward trek through the Florida Panhandle into the day today. The latest track has this storm curving just enough to the south to exit into the Gulf by midday today to the south of Panama City, Florida, continuing to push in that general direction before making a second landfall tomorrow afternoon in southeastern Louisiana. In fact, on its current forecast track, the center of the storm may pass very close to New Orleans. If this rainstorm can spend enough time over the Gulf, it may have a chance to briefly organize into a tropical storm, in which case it would be given the name Dexter. Regardless of development status, though, this storm is expected to bring at least 1 to 2 inches of rain from southwestern Alabama into central Arkansas and areas near and along the Texas-Louisiana border before it all winds down by sometime on Saturday. The highest totals of up to 4 to 8 inches of rain are expected from southwestern Mississippi into much of Louisiana, with any wind gusts of 40 to 60 miles per hour likely limited to the immediate coast near and to the east of that second landfall point, perhaps only from the New Orleans area to the far western Florida Panhandle. 3 areas with the risk for severe weather are expected today. From west to east, storms this evening and tonight from southeastern Wyoming and northeastern Colorado toward the Nebraska-Kansas border may bring hail and strong winds. Storms this afternoon and evening from northern Missouri into Wisconsin will be capable of damaging winds, flooding, and tornadoes, and storms from the Ohio Valley toward the nation's capital and most of the southwestern half of Pennsylvania also may be gusty with downpours. At least some spotty afternoon storms can be expected over the southeast, mid-Atlantic, and especially the Four Corners, where they may be heavy, with some rain and drizzle around the Montana-North Dakota border. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. President Trump travels to Pittsburgh to talk about tens of billions of dollars being invested in Pennsylvania for high-tech work, but continues to be questioned about Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case. Our John Stolnis picks up the story.
As he left the White House en route to the Keystone State, President Trump was asked again about the Justice Department's decision to close the Epstein case and defended his attorney general's handling of it.
And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
Some of Trump's most ardent supporters are in revolt over the DOJ's decision, believing Trump promised he would release all files held by the Justice Department when elected. Trump also defending the 50-day window he gave Russia to stop attacking Ukraine or face more serious tariffs.
I don't think 50 days is very long. And it could be sooner than that. I don't think 50 days is very long.
Having taken a harder stance on Vladimir Putin, the president was asked if he's now switched sides and supports Ukraine.
No, I'm on nobody's side. I want to, you know the side I'm on? Humanity's side. I want to stop the killing of thousands of people a week.
While in Pittsburgh, the president was joined by Republican Senator David McCormick to tout about $90 billion of investments in the state, which the president says will create tens of thousands of jobs in Pennsylvania.
This afternoon, 20 leading technology and energy companies are announcing more than $92 billion of investments in Pennsylvania. And if you want, we could probably get them up. Let's talk to them, right?
The president declaring the U.S. is beating China in the artificial intelligence race.
But we're here today because we believe that America's destiny is to dominate every industry and be the first in every technology. And that includes being the world's #1 superpower in artificial intelligence. And we are way ahead of China, I have to say.
But the Epstein story continues to dog the president. Asked after his speech in Pennsylvania as he headed back to the White House why his supporters won't let the controversy die.
I don't understand it, why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is.
John Stolnis, Washington.
Amid continued rescue efforts following deadly flooding in the Texas Hill Country, President Trump and Texas Governor Greg Abbott are being accused of trying to rig congressional voting maps. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports this as Governor Gavin Newsom floats a redistricting retribution in California if Texas follows through.
Congressional maps are typically redrawn every decade, but a potential mid-decade redrawing in Texas is believed to be spurred by President Trump's desire to boost the GOP's slim majority in the House during the midterm elections. He could pick up 5 seats.
Governor Abbott and Texas Republicans have utterly collapsed to pressure from President Trump.
Texas Democrat Lizzie Fletcher.
And they have surrendered Texas to political operatives from Washington, D.C., trading and dividing their constituents like commodities.
Fletcher was joined by other Democrats in Washington ripping the proposed redistricting, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who accused Governor Abbott of making the recently deadly floods in Texas political.
Instead of addressing the serious crisis that has affected tens of thousands of lives in unthinkable ways, Donald Trump, House Republicans here in Washington, and Governor Abbott are conspiring to rig the Texas congressional map.
Governor Abbott added the redistricting issue to a special session that he announced to address concerns surrounding the floods. In a statement on Truth Social after his meeting with Texas Republicans this week, President Trump said, quote, "I think we'll get 5. Seemingly discussing the flipped districts. He said there could be other states where he's going to get another 3 or 5 in addition, but he insisted Texas would be the biggest one. I'm Clayton Neville.
Manhattan intersections turned into lakes. Major New York and New Jersey highways became roaring rivers, and trains had to slog through cascading water in the New York City subway system after a storm that dumped as much as 6 inches of rain in an hour caused flooding and led to 2 deaths. More from New York and correspondent Sue Aller.
Relentless rain slammed New York and New Jersey on Monday, unleashing flash floods that overwhelmed roads, homes, and transit systems. In New Jersey, 2 people died after being swept away by floodwaters in Plainfield, prompting Governor Phil Murphy to declare a state of emergency. Plainfield Mayor Adrian Mapp spoke with ABC 7 Eyewitness News and says he has never seen Mother Nature act so violently.
We're dealing with basements that were flooded up to the ceiling. We're dealing with people who have lost everything in their basements.
In New York City, over 2 inches of rain fell in under an hour. That's the second wettest hour ever recorded in Central Park. The flash flood caused subway chaos. Footage posted online showed riders wading through waist-deep water and even climbing over train seats to escape the flooding. This woman also spoke to ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
I've never seen anything like this in my life, but it was so high because it was like just flowing like crazy, flowing like crazy, flowing like crazy.
The MTA suspended or delayed trains across the city Tuesday morning. Crews worked overnight to pump water from tunnels. More storms are possible this week, and officials are warning stay off flooded roads and never drive through standing water. Governor Murphy had this to say.
There's a human nature that I could beat water. I know I can't beat a tornado. I know I shouldn't touch a down power line, but my vehicle can make it through water, or I can stay in my house, and people have paid with their lives.
In New York, I'm Sue Aller.
Among the stories we're covering next, Colorado dentist murder trial underway, and the government's new deal with chip maker NVIDIA. Plus an all-star recap in sports with Robert Workman. America in the Morning returns after these messages. Nearly 6 weeks into their deployment, as ordered by President Trump, the Pentagon announces that half of the almost 4,000 National Guard soldiers who had been deployed to Los Angeles would be released from duty. The move follows a prolonged legal battle between the city of Los Angeles and the federal government over the right to deploy troops. President Trump justified the move as necessary, citing scattered unrest during the first few days of the immigration sweeps. The National Guard ended up largely protecting federal buildings as local police handled protesters around Los Angeles. It was estimated that nearly 3,000 arrests were made during the protests over immigration raids. Shifting gears, in the Midwest, the trial of a Colorado dentist accused of killing his wife with rat poison and other toxins mixed into her protein shakes is now underway. Correspondent Julie Walker provides the update.
In opening statements, Assistant DA Ryan Brackley told jurors financial problems and affairs led Colorado dentist James Craig to poison his wife's protein shakes.
Intentionally and deliberately over the course of 10 days ended her life. Poison called arsenic, commonly used in history to kill rats.
But defense attorney Ashley Whittam says her client is not guilty.
The prosecution is going to try to say that he was such a bad person, he was a cheater, this gave him the motive to kill. That just does not make sense. This was nothing new. Over 23 years, nothing new.
Prosecutors say the dentist gave his wife, Angela Craig, a final dose of the poison after she had already been admitted to the hospital and doctors were scrambling to figure out her mysterious ailments. I'm Julie Walker.
On Capitol Hill, Senate Republicans needed J.D. Vance's signature to advance a procedural vote for President Trump's efforts to claw back billions of dollars in government funding. GOP Senators Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski all voted against moving the rescissions package out of committee, a bill that included funding cuts to public media. The bill, if passed, would likely take away any government funding for National Public Radio or the public broadcasting system, and over $8 billion earmarked for USAID. Congress has a Friday deadline to get the bill to President Trump for his signature. In Havana, Cuba, a high-ranking government official sparked criticism, including from the communist nation's president, after saying that there are no beggars in Cuba, only people disguised as such, and accused those same beggars of not paying into the tax system for what they take out of trash cans. Lisa Dwyer reports.
Cuba's Minister of Labor and Social Security, Marta Elena Fierro Cabrera, faced a wave of criticism after claiming that there are no beggars in Cuba, calling their activities illegal self-employment that violates the tax system because they are not paying anything to the Cuban tax system, adding that when someone is on the street cleaning windshields, that they are not a vagrant, but a person that has found an easy way to make a living. Her comments during a National Assembly committee meeting went viral, prompting calls for her impeachment. This man says that he collects cans because he does not have any money. Cuba has seen its GDP decline about 11% in the past 5 years, leaving the elderly begging or scavenging through garbage. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
AI chip manufacturer NVIDIA has cut a deal with the Trump administration that'll allow them to sell advanced AI chips to China again to the tune of $20 billion. Chuck Palm takes a closer look in today's Tech Report.
NVIDIA's H20 AI chips are back in China's hands after a U.S. policy flip. Apparently, this is the week for big government deals, given major moves in XAI and Google in the past week. NVIDIA's H20 chips, known as the lifeblood of AI, with huge interest in demand and a major revenue boost. But they were dealt a major blow after an export ban on technology to China was instituted earlier this year. This cost NVIDIA nearly $5.5 billion and a $15 billion sales hit, per the CEO Jensen Huang on a podcast earlier this week. NVIDIA got the green light to continue exports to China after some high-stakes chats with President Trump. After the announcement, NVIDIA's stock jumped over 4% to a record of $170. Chinese tech titans like Tencent and Alibaba are snatching up these chips for their AI models like DeepSeek, the Chinese AI chatbot that's seen as the first real threat to OpenAI. For more, visit chuckpalm.com.
Bats were swinging at the All-Star game. In with sports this morning, here's our Robert Workman.
Baseball's 95th Major League All-Star Game in Atlanta last night had a couple of historical firsts. The National League defeated the American League on a tiebreaker swing-off. The game began with the big league debut of the automated ball strike system, used in the minors and tried out in spring training. The first challenge came in the first inning. AL starter Tarek Skubal winning his review of an 0-2 changeup to Manny Machado for strike 3. 4 pitches were challenged in all. The National League built a 6-0 lead, scoring twice in the first on a Ketel Marte double, then tacking on 4 more in the 6th on homers by Pete Alonso and Corbin Carroll. Brent Rooker started the AL comeback with a pinch hit 3-run shot in the 7th. Bobby Witt Jr. drove in a couple of runs, then scored the tie run in the 9th to force the first ever decisive swing-off. 3 players for each side, 3 swings each. Brent Rooker came back to hit 2 taters to give the AL the lead. But the Phillies' Kyle Schwarber, professional hitter, sent all 3 of his swings over the wall for the win.
I go 2 right away and was able to sneak that 3rd one out, and didn't, realizing that we got in a good situation, and hopefully that, we'll see the deal for us.
That earned him the game's MVP. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, Emmy Award nominations announced, plus the mystery behind this pop star's missing music. After these messages. Thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. There were some snubs and surprises as streaming services have scored big as the nominations for the 77th Primetime Emmy Awards, television's top honor, are announced. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
Emmy nominations were announced this morning here in Los Angeles, and it was a big day for Severance, it was a big day for the studio, and it was a big day for Apple TV Plus, the streaming service that airs them both.
Severance separated itself from the field with 27 Emmy nominations, while the studio led comedy nominations with 23 in a dominant year for Apple TV.
Every time you find yourself here, it's because you chose to come back.
No other dramas came close to the dystopian workplace series Severance. It achieved acclaim and audience buzz for its 2nd season.
Apple has had plenty of big Emmy shows, including Ted Lasso, but what they've lacked is that big signature drama that really dominates, like Succession or like Game of Thrones. And Severance has really provided that for them. It led all nominees. That includes Best Drama, Best Actor for Adam Scott, Best Actress for Britt Lauer.
I am so
excited about watching this trailer. This is going to be perfect.
Apple's Hollywood satire The Studio was expected to make a big showing for its first season, and it romped over more established shows like Hacks, which got 14, and The Bear, which got 13. The studio's co-creator, Seth Rogen, personally got 3 nominations for acting, writing, and directing. CBS will air the 77th Primetime Emmy Awards from the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. Nate Bargatze will host on September 14th. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Music superstar Beyoncé had several unreleased songs allegedly stolen while she was on tour. Kevin Carr has details.
Beyoncé's album Cowboy Carter may not feature outlaw country music, but she is now dealing with real outlaws after her tour visited Atlanta last week.
Pedal so heavy like a two most wanted and I.
On July 8th, 2 days before the Grammy winners' 4-night tour stop at the Big Peach, choreographer Chris Grant and dancer Deandra Blue had stopped for dinner. When they returned to their rented Jeep Wagoneer an hour later, the back window had been smashed and items stolen. The thieves got away with 2 suitcases, 2 laptops, and Apple headphones. Grant explained what happened in a 911 call.
They have my computers, and it's really, really important information in there. Like, I work with someone who's like of a high status, and I really need the my computer and everything.
The work items included 5 flash drives with set lists for future concerts, video footage for use on the tour, and unreleased original music. Grant told the 911 dispatcher that they were able to track the items.
It has a tracker on it. So it's following them because it's on Find My iPhone. They have my computer.
That technology came in handy as the police followed the signals to the laptop and headphones. Police were also able to pull 2 prints from the crime scene, and the event was captured on security cameras. According to AP, the police have identified a suspect and a warrant was secured on Monday. But as of Tuesday, no arrests have been made. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.